It's 12 days to election 2020. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Newsnight.
We're burying 5 at a go. We're going to bury more. We only want to elect the public. The COVID is real, and therefore protect yourself. Observe the national protocol measures to protect yourself, protect your family.
COVID-19 still exists. Please observe the safety protocols coming up tonight.
The Electoral Commission is considering to put on hold parliamentary elections in Apawu and Lolobi areas. We'll tell you why.
And also, several MMDAs frustrating preparations towards a smooth transition as they fail to present handover notes just 12 days to 2020 polls.
We have a few that are also yet to comply. I'm just saying that we are encouraging them to meet fully. We are requesting 6 hard copies and 6 soft copies.
We'll bring you more from our checks at the Office of the Administrator General as they mount pressure on various agencies to comply with Presidential Transitions Act.
Also tonight, government justifies addition of 10.7 billion Ghana cedis to the public debt stock in just 4 months as economists begin to question government's expenditure over money's bird.
Countries are having to borrow more to shore up their economies, and having decent ratios while people suffer is not necessarily the wise thing to do now. Ghana has a recovery plan and is actually doing better than its recovery plan to ensure that our debt does not become unsustainable.
And in business, the total value of more money transactions hit 58 billion Ghana cedis ending October this year. Find out what is driving this growth.
More tributes pouring in for Diego Maradona, who has died aged 60. Pelé, his big rival in the greatest of all time stake, says that he hopes that he and Diego will one day play football in the sky.
Gary will bring you details later, and we'll hit the campaign trail as President Akufo-Addo describes as shocking the former president's claim he was first to commence the implementation of the free senior high school program. This is your election headquarters. We'll bring you updates on what the former president Mahama and other candidates have been to on the campaign trail.
That and more here on Newsnight. Please join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp 055 1111 997. I am Emefa Apawu. Of course, we are also on Facebook if you want to leave your comments there. So welcome to do so.
You're welcome to Newsnight, and tonight we start with the Electoral Commission. Today, the opposition NDC held a news conference and raised issues with voting in the Apawu and Lolobi areas. Now, according to the opposition NDC, the residents are in a state of confusion, not knowing which constituency they belong following the creation of the OT region, separating the people over there. Well, we have been trying to get some response from the Electoral Commission. My colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, has been speaking to some top officials there and has a response for us. Parker, what is the EC's response to what seemed to be like a confusion in that part of the area because of the demarcations following the creation of the region?
Okay, so indeed the EC admits that there's some kind of confusion there. The people of Apawu and Lolobi, because of the creation of the new districts, the Jasikan district was split into 2. So now we have the Jasikan district and Guan district. So those who fall under Guan district belong to the Apawu and Lolobi and Santrofi people. Now, for every district or every constituency must fall under a district.
Exactly.
Now, Jasikan has a constituency and falls under Jasikan district. Now, if you go to Guan, they don't have a constituency. And so going into this election, they are confused as to whether they are going to vote for the parliamentary election or not. EC says that indeed they are considering suspending the parliamentary election at Guan district alone. For the presidential election, of course, is the whole nation. And so they would have the opportunity to vote. Because going into the registration exercise, when we were doing the registration exercise, they registered under the Guan district, not Jasikan district. So they can't move from Guan district and go and vote at Jasikan district. So that is the confusion now, which the EC says that they are working around the clock to resolve the matter. So those within that area perhaps might not be able to vote for a parliamentary candidate in that area because they don't have a constituency. Now, again, they are considering that probably after the election, they will not create an additional constituency for the people of Guan so that they can nominate a candidate and subsequently vote for a parliamentary candidate to represent them in parliament. So that is the information we have picked up this evening from the Electoral Commission.
And that's very interesting, Emefa, because going into the registration, when we had all the brouhaha about whether or not we need a new register, one of the issues raised by the Electoral Commission was that we have created new regions, and it was important that we demarcate properly so that people would know where they belong. And so I'm very much surprised that this issue was not dealt with.
12 days to the elections.
12 days to the
Hearing
elections.
that there's some confusion as to what exactly will
We'll
be
be
done.
burying 5 at a go. We're going to bury more. We only want to elect the public. The COVID is real. And then
Well, apologies for that. Sorry about that. And after Kwesi Parker Wilson brought us that in studio, of course, he wants more information on that. But let's move on to some other stories here on Newsnight, because the Office of Administrator General is today mounting pressure on various government agencies in a bid to retrieve handover notes to facilitate a smooth transition after this year's election. So the Presidential Transitions Act 2012, that's Act 845, requires that handover notes from the presidency, ministers, departments and agencies are presented to the Administrator General's office not later than 30 days before election day.
But with just 12 days to the 2020 polls, John News checks reveal that several MMDAs have still not submitted their notes. We'll hear from the director of the administration at the office shortly. But first, here's Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah earlier alleging that this requirement has been satisfied. He spoke on the Midday News.
As a matter of fact, over 3 months ago, the Chief of Staff instructed all ministers to prepare and sign off their handing over notes and hand it over to the civil service structure for onward transmission. I'm aware that ministers have done so. I have done so, as have many of my other colleagues done so, signed it off, handed it over to our chief directors for onward transmission. I think it behoves on us to find out from the Office of the Administrator General whether they are suggesting that they have not received it. And I have done mine. I know my colleagues have done theirs. And the civil service structure is seized with same for transmission.
Well, so that's the Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah, claiming that that has been done. But my colleague, Manu was there at the Office of the Administrator General at the Osu Castle earlier today. He joins us in studio with more on this developing issue. So there were earlier claims that the office was non-functional. We've heard Nana Tudasi, for instance, make that claim. How true is that?
Well, Emefa, is good to put the conversation in context. The office was established in 2012 to take care of transitional issues from one government to the other. The first appointed Administrator General, Joseph Isaka, passed later. He was replaced in 2014 by David Yaro, who retired exactly a year ago, 25th November 2019. Well, in the life of that particular office, we're told that it's been dealing with, logistical constraints and so on and so forth. So in terms of, operational challenges, well, that is rife. I'm told that the entire office has just 4 vehicles to collate and do asset stock taking across the country of all government offices and, if you like, government properties. Just has 4 vehicles. And out of these 4 vehicles, it will interest you to know, Emefa, that just 2 are roadworthy with 2 unserviceable. And so, yes, the office is operational and functional, but in terms of, resourcing of the office, that is quite low, Emefa.
Okay, so you were there. You spent most part of the day there at that office today. I would first want to find out about how many personnel were at post today when you went to the office at the Osu Castle.
Well, what my checks reveal is that there are 17 staff members in the office. Okay. Well, at the time I got there, I was told that a number of them had gone out of the office to, as it were, this same conversation we were having, to go and chase handover notes from various government department agencies and some ministries. And so that is what they are doing. But according to the Presidential Transitions Act, now these departments, which are actually being chased now by the Office of the Administrator General, are supposed to submit their handover notes 30 clear days of the presidential election. Well, we're told by the current, there's no substantive administrator general
since
following
Mr. Yaro
exactly
retired.
Since he retired in 2019. But the gentleman who was taking the fort, Alhaji Achlo Yakubu, he is the director of administration at the office. He tells me that about 80% of the government agencies and so on have submitted their handover note. We can listen to him.
Saying that 80% of the RCs comply.
Do you have some ministries that are yet to comply?
Yeah, sure, we have. And we have a few RCs that are also yet to comply. I'm just saying that we are encouraging them to be fully. We are requesting 6 hard copies and 6 soft copies. It will be a huge indictment on any minister or minister who will fail to comply. So this is a statutory function to be performed by them. So we insist that all the handover notes should be signed by the respective ministries.
If somebody fails to comply, what do you do?
Well, we have very little to do other than reporting the particular minister to Chief of Staff.
So have you reported them to the Chief of Staff yet?
Yes, we have sent a note that there are a few of them, and the Chief of Staff knows them, and we are seeing that the Chief of Staff reveal upon them to fully comply.
Well, Manuel, so that's the Director of Administration at the Office of the Administrator General. Well, so he failed to mention the ministries that are yet to submit their handover notes, or did he tell you?
Yes, he said that he would like to hold on to that information pending when it is a day close to the election and they have not presented it, then they'll put their names out.
So is that to suggest that the deadline now for them is a day before the election?
Well, according to the Presidential Transitions Act, the deadline is 30 clear days,
which has been breached.
Which has been breached
by the 20
percent of the
exactly,
government agencies and so on. I'm told by Alhaji Achlo Yakubu that the process the process to retrieve the handover notes began in February 2020. So they sent out notices to all the departments and so on through the Office of the Chief of Staff. But as of yet, there are still about 20% of the MMDA's ministries and so on that are yet to submit.
We continue to follow that. Thank you very much. That's Manuel Cranting. And earlier you heard the information minister mention that he's unaware of any ministry or department or agency that is yet to do so, because they were giving notification by the Chief of Staff to do just as the law requires them to do.
And tonight, government has justified the addition of 10.7 billion Ghana cedis to its public debt stock in just 4 months, from July 2020 to I beg your pardon, that's from July 2020 to November 2020. Now, government has generally attributed the persistent increment to COVID-19. That's the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Ghana's total debt stock has seen a sharp surge within a span of 11 months, from 204.6 billion Ghana cedis in January 2020 to a whopping 273 billion Ghana cedis in November 2020. But how did we accumulate these huge monies, and which is now a debt? Well, government's justification, we'll hear that shortly. But first, listen to this report we put together.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Ghana's total public debt stock stood at 204.6 billion Ghana cedis. By March ending, the country's debt stock had increased by 31.5 billion Ghana cedis. Between January 2020 and July 2020, Ghana's debt shot up by 28.5%, pegging the country's debt stock at 263 billion Ghana cedis in July. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund had expressed worry about the nation's rising debt levels, saying it poses challenges to the fiscal economy. What this means is that if the debt levels are not checked, it will get to a stage where the nation might struggle to settle interest payments, particularly when the cedi begins losing grounds against the US dollar. In that case, you will need more dollars to settle the loans. Ratings agencies Fitch and Standard & Poor's have also expressed similar concerns, warning it could affect the nation's credit ratings. Well, Ghana is expected to pay about 24 billion Ghana cedis on interest payments for this year alone. This will be a little over 4 billion Ghana cedis, what was settled in 2019. Last year, interest payment cost the nation about 19.756 billion Ghana cedis on loans borrowed. Already, the IMF is forecasting the country is likely to hit 74% debt to GDP ratio in 2021, given the current 71% debt to GDP ratio as of November 2020.
Well, the increase in debt has some economists worried about the situation. Listen to Professor Peter Korte, an economist at ISE.
We are not in alone. There are other countries in the same bracket. Because of the situation we find ourselves, because of COVID, there are COVID-related expenditures that has to be undertaken to revive the economy. In these times, you are not better off if you have decent debt to GDP ratio. When people are dying of COVID, when your hospitals are dying, when people don't have jobs, when businesses are collapsing. So you have to step in as a government.
Okay.
So we've also seen support to SMEs, for instance, the bus, for instance, that was used to support businesses. And I think, for me, the interest should be how these monies were disbursed. To whom were they disbursed? Are they going to be invested to ensure that we grow the economy? Because debt itself is not a bad thing, but how you use it. If you are giving to businesses to revive their operations to generate growth, then that is fine. But if that is not the case, then that is where, for me, my interest would be. How have we spent this money?
And so you have the economist, Professor Peter Korte, is also the director at ISE. Now, government is assuring that the 4-year recovery plan put in place by the government, the finance ministry, will ensure debt sustainability. Let's listen to the information minister, Kojo Ponkruma.
3 major reasons. The first is a drawdown on already existent loans. Loans as incurred as far back as about 5-10 years ago or within the last decade, some of which are still being drawn down even as we speak for major infrastructure projects across the country. Anytime $1, $10, $100, $1,000 is drawn down on any of those old loans, like the Tema and Pakadan railway line, like the Pokwase interchange, and like the other infrastructure projects that are ongoing, from old loans, it adds to the debt stock in current CD terms using the current exchange rate. The second is a change that you find in the CD-denominated debt stock based simply on the exchange rate. For example, $100 million that was incurred, let's say 5 years ago, at an exchange rate of 3.0. I'm just using this hypothetically. That same $100 million will no longer be 300 million cedis. It will now be 500 million cedis. That's a change of 200 million Ghana cedis without borrowing, because the exchange rate has changed. And then you come to the third reason, that is the new borrowing. So Eurobonds and COVID-19 related expenses mostly will also now add, that is the new drawdowns on the new borrowing, will also now add to a change in the CD denominated debt stock. So if you're observing a change in the CD denominated debt stock, these will be the reasons. But as has been mentioned, I think by Professor Korte, if I heard him well, Ghana is not the only country in a position like this, because particularly as a result of what has happened this year, countries are having to borrow more to shore up their economies, and having decent ratios while people suffer is not necessarily the wise thing to do now. The important thing is that Ghana has a recovery plan and is actually doing better than its recovery plan to ensure that our debt does not become unsustainable.
In our report, we had the IMF, for instance, projecting that by 2021, we will have a debt to GDP ratio of 74%, amongst others, and the reactions that we're getting, knowing that we've piled up, up to 273 billion Ghana cedis up to November 2020. Is government giving us enough justification that whatever it is that you're putting these monies into, it will be worth our while?
What is Ghana's recovery program? Ghana has put out a 4-year recovery program to get back to our levels of excellence in macro stability and growth that we're being applauded for. How are we performing on that program? The data from the Bank of Ghana's Composite Index of Economic Activity, I think if I've heard the Deputy Governor, Dr. Pokwafari, speak, They are quite clear. I think quite recently I heard the World Bank country director on your network speaking to George Weafe. All of them agree that Ghana is even performing better than our program for recovery. So if we stay on this path of performance relative to the program for recovery that this current administration is executing, we should get out of this blip on the radar very quickly.
Okay. That's the Information Minister, Kujo Opon-Krumah. We'll get into the election headquarters now, which is brought to you by Petrosol, clean fuel, full quantity. And this time, the NDC's promise of free primary universal healthcare will collapse the National Health Insurance Scheme. This is according to the Executive Director of Pro-NPP think tank, Dankwa Institute, Richard Ahiagba. He went on to add that the promise was not feasible, but a mere campaign rhetoric meant to hoodwink Ghanaians into voting for the NDC in this year's election. Richard Ahiagba spoke at a news conference today to review the manifesto promises of the opposition NDC.
Its 2020 manifesto, the NDC has promised free primary health care for all Ghanaians if elected into office. It has been widely explained that this initiative would complement the existing National Health Insurance Scheme to promote universal access to health care delivery. Based on available data on the distribution of the population, total enrollment in the NHIS, and premium payment for members, the cost of this initiative is estimated at 630 million annually. It is worth noting that a free primary health care policy is premised on the non-payment of premium. Intuitively, 75% of Ghanaians whose point of call for healthcare delivery are district hospitals, CHIPS compounds, and polyclinics would cease paying premiums. I hope you get that point. By the implementation, assuming they get a chance to, a raft of Ghanaians whose first point of call for healthcare delivery would cease paying premiums. Barring mitigating measures, this will lead to a collapse of the NHIS and would likely set the country back in the progress we made thus far in promoting free universal health care.
And so that's Richard Ahiagba there. We are working the phone lines to get the reaction of the opposition NDC. Dr. Manu had agreed to speak to us. Once we have him on the line, we'll get his reaction to this. But Richard Ahiagba also spoke about education, specifically the free senior high school program. Now, he says the NDC's promise to extend the free SHS to cover private senior high schools is an attempt by the party to deceive Ghanaians. Listen.
The promise by the former president and the NDC to extend coverage of the free SHS program to private educational institutions deserves scrutiny. It needs mentioning that based on the 2020 expenditure for the free SHS program and an extra adjustment of 30% for private educational institutions, the NDC's plan would cost an estimated 3.2 billion for the 2020 and 2021 academic year. Interestingly, former President Mahama in 2019, while addressing an audience in University of Cape Coast on the theme, the state of education in Ghana, expressed concern over the investment of 2 billion Ghana cedis in the free SHS program to the detriment of other equally important sectors of the economy. It is therefore baffling that a party that resisted and bemoaned the high cost of the implementation of the free SHS program would suddenly seek to extend it to several other beneficiaries when doing so would automatically increase the cost of the program. If the NDC cancelled nursing and teacher trainee allowances on grounds of financial toll on government, why would the same party advocate for the payment of fees for students in private educational institutions when the resulting cost far exceeds the allowances paid to teacher and nursing trainees?
And this is your election headquarters. You just heard the executive director of Dankwa Institute, Richard Ahiangba. Like you said, Ernest, we're still working the lines to reach Dr. Edward Omanebuama. He's a former communications minister and NDC spokesperson on health. He definitely agreed to be with us tonight. But this particular issue on education came up strongly on the campaign trail today. And President Akufo-Addo says it is shocking that former President Mahama is laying claim to the implementation of the free senior high school program.
Now, the former president at a rally in the Upper West region said he started the program with the construction of the e-blocks, but President Akufo-Addo, in an interaction with traders at Malam, Odoko and Adubloshi, described Mr. Mahama's assertion as outright lies and deceit meant to revive his uninspiring campaign. Listen.
Free SHS Bebado. Okay, say me dada Ghana for some guy. Say me dey pay vote in America, sir. Na cry about the 20 years as a Ghana for the air. And say, also what 2 billion CDs are not fed to school fees or the baby be papa. And then also no the free SHS no buy. Hey, na and ye fair. So man penny dada, the castle they are troning dada and the baby free to a casino. You be mad coin, Na Santro, if you are there back on one who send the campaign and call baby. He is seeing that his campaign is collapsing in confusion and fabrications and now outright lies. So I'm looking for a massive endorsement for the people of Ghana for that blueprint, which is set out in our manifesto of 2020. Jafide, Mesramo, me penu bubo, me penu bomb.
Well, you heard there, President Akufo-Addo.
Now he doesn't want a boom.
He wants a boom. Well, so I speak better Chi than you do. So the portion
I simply have to admit.
So he says that you recall that when he promised to introduce a free senior high school policy during the 2016 electioneering year, Mr. Mahama raised doubt about the feasibility of its implementation. Now, he said he was making empty promises because he needed votes. Mr. Mahama said if he had 2 billion cedis, he wouldn't use it in paying school fees. Why must such an individual be giving another chance to ascend the highest office of the land? Much later also, on flip side, we'll bring you Mr. Mahama mimicking Mr. President Akufo-Addo during the campaign in 2016. But Elton Brobe has joined us.
Let's speak to Elton, who is with the president. Elton, tell us what else you have been today and what has been happening on the campaign trail.
So, Ernest and Emefa, we are currently at East Legon in the Ayawaso West Legon constituency. Lydia Al-Hassan, a member of parliament for this area, with also the parliamentary candidate for the MPP in the upcoming election, is sort of giving account of what she's done so far as MP, sponsoring people to undertake education at GamePad, extending financial support to businesses within the constituency, and many more things that she's done. That's what she's accounting to the people right now here at East Legon. And before coming here, we were at the Domkwabenya constituency, 3 stops actually, the Domkwabenya market, Namidia School, and then the atomic energy compound where President Akufo-Addo addressed separate rallies. The issue about who is telling the truth as far as the implementation of the free senior high school program came up strongly. Indeed, the reaction from President Akufo-Addo to the comments made by former President John Mahama and the call on the people to read in between who is telling the truth and then to vote accordingly in the upcoming election. For the MPP, what they have done simply is a fulfillment of what they promised the people of Ghana prior to the 2016 general elections. And before getting here also, we went to the Fukua State Interchange. The first phase is open for traffic. President Akufo-Addo commission is the $98 million project, according to them, is the biggest in West Africa, and government will ensure that the entire stretch is open to traffic by the end of 2021. So, Emefa, Ernest is being whistle stop, sometimes drive through, but the message has been one from Alan Chairman to President Akufo-Addo to Cabinet Japan to the parliamentary candidates in the various constituencies. The MPP says that they are targeting to win at least 29 seats here in the Greater Accra region
And Elton, we understand that the president has been commissioning projects apart from the interchange today that was commissioned. There are other commissioners that were done today. Can you just run them by us?
So the first port of call was Ablekuma West constituency, and we know that before the constituency was created, it was Ablekuma South. The first MP was Honorable Fariza of blessed memory. She died 10 years ago. Government decided to erect a monument in her honor. So the first port of call was the unveiling of this monument on the famous Danceman roundabout, right in the middle of the roundabout, and that was done. And for people within the catchment area, they felt inspired by the president's gesture to honor the memory of this former MP, and for that reason, they'll go out, work hard to ensure that the MPP is retained in the constituency. Apart from that, the only commitment was the first phase of the interchange.
Elton, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed with what's happening on the campaign trail as far as President Akufo-Addo and the NPP is concerned. And that's presidential correspondent Elton Brobe there. We'll return to the camp. We'll actually go to the camp of the NDC after business with George Yafe. My colleague Maxwell Adodba is following former President John Dramani Mahama, and a lot has been happening in their camp as well. But George is here with the latest in business. Hello, George.
Hi, could you? I mean, how many days to elections?
Just 12 days.
Okay. Made your choice already? Even though it's supposed to be secret, right?
It's supposed to be secret.
Okay.
We'll see about that.
All right. So, coming up in business, the total value of mobile money transactions hit 58 billion Ghana cedis ending October this year. We'll find out what are the drivers of this growth, and Tullow Oil targets pick up in revenue and production from next year after COVID-19 shock slowed growth for this year. We'll be hearing from the group chief executive from London. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
Hello, your friend me Kwesi. Na me ma wakwa ba de ba me class a your friend why wade. And never to me boss ya cheche o senia. Ubetumi ma wo MT mo no aye adwuma ma wo yie. Sei emfa ho bia bia wo. Wo ankasa betuma ma wo MT mo no aye adwuma ma wo. Ayem rete say DIY broni besie. Enti why wade. Kenya wo MTN mo wallet no say sia. Ene ma we mfi say obe like na wa subscribe me class yi.
Enti so wo ankasa activate wo MTN Momo account no e wo phone so. Eno an say obe dial *170#. Now what the akwanchira ebedi disorder so. Enti koso for MTN Momo no to our bills. Package wakatua. Na some for tower airtime. If you say we are good together, we're there for you everywhere you go.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST Campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
know it's important to create a productive and supportive working environment by investing in your employees' health. With a leading international track record, Apex Health Insurance is regulated and licensed by the National Health Insurance Authority to provide medical insurance services to institutional clients, families, and individuals. Apex Student Package and International Medical Solutions are all here to cushion you. Visit Apex Health Insurance Office at Zion House, Boundary Road, Shiashi, or call
0501 683 914.
or 0232 000 015. In Kumasi, we are located opposite Prempe College, Sofo Line, and in Takrady, Apex Health, your preferred health insurer.
Fellow Ghanaians, the stakes are high for our country this December. Don't stay home.
Remember, this election is about your future. Which of the candidates would you trust with managing our economy better? Which leader can give us free SHS and enhance the education of our children? Who can you trust to protect us during dark periods such as COVID-19? Who has the competence to protect our economy, build roads and dams?
Do you remember the dark periods of Doomsaw, Create, Loot and Share Brigade?
This December, remember we cannot afford the risk. Let's vote for Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP to protect our progress.
We are now operating 4 weekly flights from Accra to over 100 destinations worldwide. Book today with greater flexibility and benefit from our all-inclusive fares starting from $654, earning up to 7,000 bonus kill miles. Book today at QatarAirways.com. Terms and conditions apply. Qatar Airways, going places together.
December 7th, about to the new. Yeah, go to Aba. December 7th, yeah. Then go to Aba. 7th December. Go to Aba. Go to Aba. Omamba. Go to Aba. Omamba. Go to Aba. See February. Go to Aba. Omamba. Go to Aba. Asutri. Go to Aba. Eniji. Go to Aba. Myself, who you are. Go to Aba. Go to Aba. She from go to Aba, Bonkaya, go to Aba, December 7th, go to Aba. I go, 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 I go. Yeah, December no more, Ghana Munti.
December 7th, Ghana for go to Aba.
2020.
December 7th, Yenina go to Aba.
2020.
April na bananso, wapna nyumre no no.
Social distance. Shall not mask, sanitize your hands. Call police station, who can register, you know. Protocol, and so bebas mamba, go to Aba, Omamba, go to Aba. We see from go to Aba, Omamba, go to Aba. Aban before, embedded in Tokwa. What to Aba, we are, coffee board, you are home. Be born on Mawaba, Wabe Shani, be see. December 7th, Ghana for yeah, go to Aba. December 7th, about to the new. Yeah, go to Aba. December 7th, yeah, then go to Aba. 7th December, you see, go to Aba.
Ago Mambapa. It's time again to further consolidate Ghana's democratic gains. Eligible voters on 7 December 2020 will vote to elect who should govern our beloved country by showing up at polling centers to participate in this democratic exercise. Remember to vote on issues and reject candidates who incite violence. As a good citizen, refrain from political violence and electoral malpractices. Go along with your voter's ID card to the polling station. Cast your vote peacefully, cooperating with all lawful agencies. Exercise your right to vote safely. Adhere to all COVID-19 safety protocols at polling stations. Get involved. Pay Pay attention, stay engaged, and let your vote count. It's your civic responsibility. A message from the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE.
Joy 99.7 FM.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the total value of mobile money transactions continue to hit record levels. Latest data from the Bank of Ghana puts the value at 58 billion Ghana cedis ending October this year. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
According to the Bank of Ghana's report, the total value of mobile money transactions went up by 30 billion cedis from October 2019 to reach 58 billion cedis in October this year. This was as a result of 278 million transactions that were carried out on these platforms in the country. The report also shows that 5.8 billion cedis in mobile money savings accounts have been locked with commercial banks in the country. In terms of jobs, it has offered employment to about 316,000 persons based on an active mobile money agent captured in the Bank of Ghana's data. This actually represents a significant increase from the same period last year. When it comes to mobile money accounts, we are looking at 36.9 million registrations. However, only 14 million are active. The strong growth can be attributed to some trust in the system and possibly how COVID-19 has forced a lot of people to go cashless and electronic.
And that was a Business Desk report. In a related development, the total value of mobile money interoperability also witnessed a huge jump. Figures from the Bank of Ghana puts the value ending October this year at around 785 million cedis compared to just 101 million cedis in the same period for last year. This actually represents more than 600% jump in terms of value realized for this particular product. Now, Talu Oil is projecting a strong pickup in revenue and production from next year. Now, this is coming after the firm's revenue and production was impacted badly as a result of COVID-19. Now, speaking at the firm's Capital Markets Day in London, Chief Executive Rauda says that there should be some need for some additional investment before they can hit this target for next year.
What is important, I think the key message is that one is that decline is going to more than offset by our kind of the savings that we have. And I just want to give you, Michael's got a sense. So our 2020, this is my numbers. You got to just, I look at after-tax kind of operating margins, right? So let me just go forward. So the 10-year number, we have $7 billion of operating cash flows, right? You divide that by, we produce 260 million barrels of oil over the 10-year period. That's about 50% higher than our operating margin for this year, right? And why is that? That's because of all the cost savings. So I think when we're looking at this business, we're saying, well, how do we make money? How do I deliver cash flow? How do I create value? And it's that.
Chief Executive of Talu Oil PLC, Rahul, speaking from London at the company's Capital Markets Day. Now, mining firm Engineers and Planners is optimistic of securing the bid to formally take over Cardinal Resources' mining interest in Ghana. Now, this was after it formally made a request to the owners in Australia. According to Engineers and Planners, it is basing its optimism on a better share offer. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
Engineers and Planners to this end has formally made a cash offer to owners of the Cardinals mining project in Bolgatanga in northern Ghana and to Brenham project in the southern part of the country. According to a statement from Engineers and Planners, it's offering $1.05 for each of the company's shares. Now, this is 5% higher than what the other two competing firms have offered to Cardinal Resources Limited. Engineers and Planners by this move is seeking a 100% acquisition of the company, which it values at $564 million. It's not clear for now what might have influenced this move, but sources say it's part of Engineers and Planners' strategy to be an indigenous mining giant.
And that is the Business Desk report. The offer is, however, subject to securing the necessary approvals from regulators in Ghana and in Australia as well. Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana has called on government to both in successive as well as incoming government to operate the thermal oil refinery as an economic activity rather than political affiliations. Now, he made the call at a workshop organized to create media awareness on petroleum and energy issues. At an interactive sessions, that is, Dr. Yusuf Suleiman also urged journalists to set the agenda when it comes to issues of the petroleum sector and also educating Ghanaians.
Their ending time they wanted to do showmanship and then get votes, but they were able. That MD at that time, what's the name? He got over 2 million barrels from Ghana field to Tor. And if you go now, Tor guys are praising that guy. Even that within that period, they are praising. After him, how many MDs have they changed? The same as boss. How many MDs have they changed? So it is doable. It is just that our interest has overcome the national interest.
It's actually Dr. Yusuf Suleiman there going through journalists with some education there. Now, Ghana's ambassador to Denmark with accreditation to Sweden, Amele Olenu Asamoah, says government will facilitate a green economy in Ghana through technical education. The move is expected to boost skilled employees in the technical and vocational sectors of the economy. This is being championed by the Ghana Government Inclusive Business Sweden that is Commerce partner. She spoke on the sidelines of the launch of the Ghana Green Economy Project.
Thank you very much, George, for the latest from the world of business. Let's do sports now. And Gary Al Smith is in the studio. Well, sad day indeed for the football fraternity.
Well, it is. I mean, for somebody who transcended sports, it's not a funeral for football alone. I mean, the tributes have been coming from all over the world, from the most exalted to people on the street as well. And like I said in my introduction, Pele said he hopes that he and Diego Maradona will one day play football in the sky, and that was really, really good. We've got tributes from politicians, from musicians, from other footballers as well who have spoken about it. A minute silence has been held for Maradona ahead of Manchester City's match at Olympiacos in the Champions League. Leo Messi says it's a very sad day for Argentines and for football, and that Diego leaves us but does not really leave because he is eternal. And Cristiano Ronaldo also weighs in, saying that today is a sad day. He says goodbye to a friend, and the world says goodbye to an eternal genius, and he calls him one of the best ever. Interesting.
Yeah.
He calls him one of the best ever. He doesn't call him the best ever.
One of the best.
Cristiano does not call him.
I think I agree with him. It's difficult to...
but there are too many from politicians. Former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva also pays tribute. He says that he was a football giant from Argentina and all over the world, a talent and a unique personality. Gary Lineker says that he hopes that Maradona will be in the hands of God. Obviously playing on the pan of when he used his hand to score against England in that World Cup in the 80s.
Okay.
Yes. So many comments on social media as well from Ghana. I don't know how much time we have, but people have been talking about his legacy.
Let's hear them.
And a lot of people have been saying that, I mean, when they were kids, they all wanted to be
Maradona.
Maradona.
That was the name. That was the person to aspire to. I mean,
yeah. And also the fact that for a lot of people, Maradona was the first real global football superstar. Some say it's Pele, but for the modern world, in the modern iteration of who a modern global superstar is, Maradona was it. Ofosu JM says, rest in peace, the legend. Ray J. Blink says, legend, rest in peace. Kofi Asilfi says, RIP, legend of the Green Turf. And still on our Facebook page, Sika Togo says, condolences to his family and country. 2020 has been very odd. It has been odd.
It has been. Thank you very much, Gary, for bringing us the latest in sport. And we say RIP to Maradona. But let's return to the issues on the campaign. And today we've heard from the Dankwa Institute. Richard Ahiadba made a presentation today at the University of Ghana. He touched on two issues, the NDC's primary free healthcare, the promise to provide that, and also the free SHS. We are joined on the phone lines by Dr. Edward Omane Boama, former communications minister and spokesperson for the NDC on health. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. So he makes the claim that this primary health care that you intend to roll out, should it be voted into power, will collapse the NHIS. The explanation he gives to this is that if everybody is going to get free primary health care, there'll be no motivation to roll onto the NHIS. Is there no point in that, sir?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. The point is very, very pointless. It fails a health policy test. It fails a health economics test. And it fails health financing test. Free primary health care stands on three legs: curative care, prevention, and health promotion. And that is going to be at the district level. So, for example, if you went to Kaneshi Polyclinic, Mamubi Polyclinic, or St. Dominic Hospital in Akwatia, or the district hospital in Etibie, you will not pay for it. If you went to a chief's compound, you will not pay for it. If you went to a health center, you will not pay for it. This is in addition to emphasizing preventive care and health promotion. Beyond that, what we are saying is that the National Health Insurance Scheme will then be freed from spending at the district level, and then it can focus on secondary care, that is regional hospitals and tertiary care facilities. And why are we saying this? This is because when we were developing our manifesto across the country, there were concerns about people who are unable to pay their bills. People said they do not even go to the hospital when they are sick. And so we began distilling the issues and the themes. If I inform you that after 17 years of implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme, it covers less than 40% of Ghanaians. Let's take it, let's say 40%. What that means is that there are 60% who are not covered. Let's assume out of that 60%, about 15% of them can take care of themselves. What do we do with the remainder? And this is why we are proposing free primary health care, so that we can take care of people at the district level, and the National Health Insurance Scheme will be stronger because it would have been relieved of expenditures at the district level, that it can focus on secondary and tertiary care.
So as far as you're concerned, it is possible to keep the NHIS running whilst you provide this free healthcare policy. Thank you very much.
Because when you go to the district hospital, assuming you are referred to the regional hospital, you will need a form of healthcare financing.
Very well.
And that is where the National Health Insurance comes in.
Thank you so much.
As I said, it fails the health policy test, health economics test, and health financing test.
Dr. Manu Bolma is the former communications minister and the spokesperson for the NDC on health. Thank you very much for your time, Emefa.
And of course, Maxwell Agbagba is on the campaign show. Is following Mr. John Dramani Mahama. They've now moved from the northeast region, heading to the Savannah region. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba earlier filed this particular report.
The NDC presidential candidate has been moving to various constituencies. As we speak right now, he's in Paga, and he's about to greet the chief of Paga, but the main Navrongo to Paga road. Now, this road, there's a traffic situation on this stretch because many NDC supporters have gathered here, all of them waiting to hear John Mahama speak at the Paga Chief's Palace. A lot of them are waiting, some of them on motorbikes. So they have caused some kind of a traffic situation here. How would be the Member of Parliament for Baku Central, Mahama Yariga.
He is being received everywhere enthusiastically. You can see the energy. The young people are yearning for the second coming of John Dramani Mahama as president. I mean, they are listening. He's taking his time to deliver the message and the focus on continuing on the infrastructure development.
All is set for tonight is the UDS Faculty of Education 2020 political parties debate on the education policy in Ghana. So 4 political parties, the ruling MPP, the National Democratic Congress, the CPP, and of course the PNC will strip bare their manifesto.
And for the NDC and the NPP, we have the Deputy Education Minister and the former Deputy Education Minister, Okujeto Ablakwa. And of course we have David Apasara, the flag bearer himself, and the PNC also has a representative. It promises to be very exciting.
And it will be live on the Joy News channel as well. And in the Safety for My Vote campaign that we've been on, we are in the Bono East region. We've been highlighting some of the issues there because of the hotspots, up to 120 of them recorded. Tonight, the minister there has been assuring and responding to security concerns of residents ahead of the polls.
A lot of people settle in the market, including lunatics and all other people. Sometimes we do have some of this thing, but it's not something that we've been seeing all around, that people are dying in the market. So it was a case that happened and it came to my attention and it has been taken care of by the police.
Can you share with us the details? Was it a murder? What exactly happened?
From what happened, I thought it wasn't a murder. It might be somebody who was had an attack, and unfortunately maybe the medical attention was not found at the time, and that happened. So it wasn't like somebody who was really murdered.
That's the Bono East Regional Minister Kofi Amwakohene there speaking to Bernice Abube de Lanza on the Joy News Desk earlier today. Strong and sassy.
Hi, Emefa.
Coming out tonight. What are we talking about?
Yes, this evening we're talking about politics. Well, it's 2 weeks to the election, isn't it? So, of course, we're staying with the times. But this evening we're talking about women in politics. And we're asking, do women do politics differently?
Of course they do.
Well, we'll
better,
hear.
Better than the men.
Really? He says better.
Well, I don't know about better, but
I think maybe different. We'll find that out. We have
different, yes.
Yes, we have NPP here, we have NDC here, and then we have a youth activist. So we'll find out. We'll see what politics is like, and then maybe you and I, in a few years, will be standing for the primaries or some MP somewhere. No, you can't be. We have to fight for the rights of women.
And Nimwa is coming up with strong and sassy, and that's how we end tonight's edition of Newsnight. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Ernest. We'll leave you with this sound bite from